Welcome to In the Hot Seat with the Tenney Group. I'm Spencer Tenney, and it's good to be with you. So when you think about driver retention, you might not be thinking about corporate chaplains, but that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm super excited to welcome our guest, Melvin Swafford, Regional Vice President of Operations from Corporate Chaplains of America. Melvin, welcome.
Thank you, Spencer. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for letting me have a few moments.
Well, I think this is going to be extremely interesting for our audience because you're addressing something that maybe people are not thinking about as a potential instrument to connect and to impact their current labor force. So with that being said, we're going to jump right in here for a second, but just take 30 seconds a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing at Corporate Chaplains of America.
Corporate Chaplains of America is 26 years old and just celebrated our birthday on February the 12th. We are now in 47 states, 300 full-time chaplains caring for people in the workplace. It's a joy to do that.
Well, I think that is wonderful. So let's heat things up, Melvin. So first of all, what is a corporate chaplain? What is it?
Well, a corporate chaplain is a caregiver. A person who's going to build caring relationships in the workplace. And we go and we have caring conversations, but those caring conversations lead to deeper conversations off the clock. And of course, in the trucking industry, that can happen a lot of places as life happens. But we make ourselves available 24/7, 365. And ready to dispatch at a moment's notice to care for not only the employee, but anyone in their sphere of influence, family members, or even friends, relatives in other states.
Well, I think that's pretty remarkable. And, I teased it a moment ago. And honestly, just recently, 2 weeks ago, I'm at a conference for Final Mile in Puerto Rico, and the issue comes up about driver retention. And it was top of mind. You and I had just had a conversation. I was like, hey, have you thought about corporate chaplains? And no one had thought about that, but everyone kind of leaned in. Tell us why, based on the experience that you've had with other transportation companies, why is a chaplain having an effect on employee morale and specifically driver retention?
Well, we've been serving in the trucking industry for all 26 of the years, and we've been learning every year by caring for terminal managers, drivers, people loading trucks, dispatch, owners as they approach this, and just the retention needs, sometimes upwards to 70% turnover, and asking them with a caring spirit, what is your pain point? How are you hurting? And then them sharing with us all the things that they're trying to do. They're trying to do everything, to pay higher wages and be creative with their benefits and offer technology and be competitive with signing bonuses and so many different efforts that they've tried to do. So listening to that, we've come together and put together plans to join them in that care, to support them in retention proactively.
So let's unpack that a little bit. Let's say that there's a driver over the road, has a need, calls on a chaplain. Just kind of walk us through what would be a conversation that they might have.
Well, first of all, we're going to triage that call immediately and see where their need is. Now, when they call in, now there's different types. That would be a reactive chaplaincy. There's also proactive chaplaincy we can talk about in a minute, but that driver has called us, so there is a need, and usually that need is pretty timely and very important at that moment. If it were an accident or if it was a trauma at their home while they're away, we would dispatch a chaplain to meet that need and be face to face in a matter of even minutes, or it just depends on where it is. We would be en route to get there face to face. But we've got to triage that first and care for that driver. We've got to realize that driver's pulling 80,000 pounds, driving all over the country with great intentions, but they can't handle everything, handle the things at home. They want to care. Most drivers have big hearts. They might have a fellow truck driver. Just this last week, there was a driver that did call that a dear friend of theirs passed away in another state. We dispatched a chaplain. Not only did they care in grief for that friend, but they performed the funeral.
Wow. I think that's just a remarkable thing. So what is the feedback that you're hearing? Because I think this is a really interesting time in trucking because we're seeing some of the most innovative trucking leadership try to do whatever they can to get a handle on driver retention and driver recruitment. Anything from 30 to 40% increased pay, all kinds of new benefits. I mean, there's an outpouring of interest in terms of trying to differentiate and add unique value. What is it about what you just described that's connecting with drivers, even more so than money in some cases?
Well, that's a great question. And I don't think I would just point at corporate chaplains and say, we're the answer for everybody. I don't think that's fair to all the owners' hearts and what they're doing. I think it's a combination. Some owners have really focused on technology inside their trucks or paying higher wages or making sure their dispatch is the best dispatch that it can be in communication to alleviate stress on drivers and those things. But then there's other things as well. There's the mind, there's the emotion, there's the spirit of the driver as they're on the road. Most people who have worked in the trucking industry for any time know that many times truck drivers overthink things and they're thinking while they're going down the road. It's a great time to have a proactive call from a chaplain. So to answer your question a little bit better, I think that there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance between the technology and the pay versus the personal, proactive, relational care of a chaplain. And let me say this about that chaplain. One of the things that really distinguishes, because I've seen inside companies, some very large companies have retention offices or hire someone to be a retention specialist, or even hire maybe some older truck drivers to send out birthday cards or just special touches. Corporate chaplains is a third party that's confidential, permission based, and volunteered. So we're not going to force ourselves on anyone, but knowing that we're not hired by we're not a part of the company that they work for, and that they can have a sense of confidentiality when they speak with their chaplain makes a big difference.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm going to repeat that back to you, Melvin. So what you're saying, as long as there's a chaplain, no one has to give any pay increases right now. Is that what you said?
Not at all. Not, I think I, the balance. Very well said, Spencer.
Well, where my world in terms of the M&A and Tenney Group's role intersects on the driver retention, it's a major issue because the driver retention, it's a function of risk, which directly affects value. So, I think what's interesting is that everyone's looking at for any way to kind of control that number right there on the retention side. So maybe something that you could help us out with is what's a process like when you're looking at a company and they're saying, hey, we need help. What would be the characteristics of a company that might be a good fit to have a chaplain?
Well, if they have employees, everybody has needs. Everyone has needs, and so the depending on their size, the great part about a chaplaincy, they're not having to hire and pay a full-time salary because we're an agency. So they're only paying a portion of that chaplain's salary. And so it doesn't matter necessarily the size of the company if you're looking for that for a characteristic. It's just someone who wants to love their employees, who cares about their employees, wants to develop a culture in their company that they are who they say they are, that they are trustworthy, that care is offered for their drivers, and that they can back that up 24/7, 365 around the nation, wherever that driver is. That's the type of owner that we want to support. We see the value in truck drivers and in owners. And so we want to be the best tool in the HR tool bag to care for people.
No, I think that's good. So I'm curious, like as an owner, you think that you're providing benefits. You hope that they use them. You hope that they're meaningful. let's just say that your trucking clients, what's the percent of drivers or employees that actually use the chaplain service once it's made available?
Well, the take rate on a chaplain is astonishing because of a relationship is 87%. Um, 87% of people, once they build a caring relationship with their chaplain, 87% are utilizing the chaplaincy. Um,
So pause right there. So you're saying if there's 1,000 employees, 870 of those employees or drivers are actively using that chaplain?
and that it depends. At the terminal, it would be more 87%. With our proactive calls, different products with our proactive calls, and we're calling thousands of drivers proactively because they're on the road. We have a lot of companies where they have more drivers out than they do in, and they never see their drivers. So with those proactive calls, of the calls we're having, we're seeing 50% at least take rate. And of the 50% that are taking the calls, 50% of them have major care session needs while they're out on the road. That's an astonishing number.
No, that's unbelievable. That's much more than what I think anybody really would have anticipated. So I guess the follow-up question is why? Why? Because compared to any other benefit, why do you feel that there's such strong participation in this particular benefit?
That's a tremendous question. I believe there's a lot of combinations of our society, where we are, the pressures, the metrics, the need of transportation, uh, the pressures at home, the changes at home, um, having to leave home to go do your job while you've got a lot going on. uh, you just need extra help. You need extra hands. You need somebody there. And so the utilization chaplaincy, we average about 350,000 care sessions a year. And you think that would have gone down during the pandemic. It actually went up by 40,000 to close to 400,000 care sessions uh, for us. And so the usage of chaplaincy, one of the things we're finding as we build deeper relationships with our owners is is we get to learn how to craft chaplaincy specifically for that business to carry out the heart of the owner to the employees wherever they are. Um, that is an increasing value. It gets difficult because the more you serve, the more you're needed, and the more you're needed, the more you serve. Uh, but our chaplains wake up every day just excited to know that their service matters and that they're undergirding the best employees out there in truckers.
I just love the way that you said that. And, with that, I just want to thank you for serving our finest with the drivers on the highways, making America go right now. And especially in the last 24 months, what a blessing that your team, other folks like you, are leaning in and helping our guys be the best they can be, serve their companies and their families. And so, with that, how can folks learn about you if they wanted to learn a little bit more about having a corporate chaplain?
Chaplain.org is our website that is great to do that. You can, of course, email me at mswafford@chaplain.org. We would love to sit down and just see if it's a fit with your company and just tell you what the story. Just listen to your story and tell the story of maybe how we could serve you.
I love it, sir. Thank you so much for being in the hot seat with us. That's going to do it. We will see you next time.